Hey, hi Sam. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, and you?
I am doing good. Thank you so much. I think this was a unplanned session of ours, and I think I'm doing this in this style for the first time for our podcast. Let's talk about data. I was a little bit excited that this kind of user came to me to discuss
hmm
stuff. So it'll be a very casual stuff. I'll be asking a lot of discovery questions. What do you want? How it goes? What I can add value? And from there we can go in. And even if you need to edit it, we can edit it later because it's an offline session. So
hmm
Sam, tell
That
us
sounds
about
good.
yourself first before we go into what actually you want to discuss. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I am a data professional. I've been working a variety of roles that are data related for the past 15 years. I live in Ontario, Canada, and I've recently quit my job to start a company in the data field. I'm trying to leverage the latest advancements in AI, and I think there's never been a best time to start a company. And I'm trying to see how I can build something useful for data professionals in this new era that we're in. And I've been looking to talk to a number of people, yourself included, on how we can accomplish that and what are the current struggles that people are having that we haven't tackled yet in this field, in this industry,
Okay,
right?
awesome, awesome. Now we can go super casual and see that what is your idea? What do you see? What value add I can add? So
Mhm.
tell us about your idea.
So, my idea is still being refined. I've been talking to a number of people in order to understand what is it that it would really be useful to them. What are the current pain points? What problems haven't we already addressed? I think that with AI spitting out code at a faster rate than ever, we're developing software at a faster rate than ever. Um, well, and that software generates and creates and manages data. That data needs to be stored and normalized and controlled and visualized somewhere, right? So. Um, I'm thinking that the demand for data governance, data architecture, data modeling is only going to increase because of the amount of software that we're
Yeah.
dishing out nowadays. And and I've started with the creation of a prototype piece of software called DBAnvil, which
Okay.
is for vibe data modeling, right? So
Okay.
uh, I think that is the I'm trying to develop the response on our end as data professionals to the increased productivity that software developers are seeing, right? I'm trying to find an answer for how we're going to keep up on our end. How are we going to ensure that the data structures that are being created are adequate, they perform well, they enforce the business requirements, they don't allow trash in, they enforce the business rules correctly. Um, yeah, I think we need an answer to the increased output that devs are are having right now, and that is my answer. That said, it's a very early prototype that we have available currently. It's an alpha. It
Mm.
has a very basic AI assistant that's very limited in capability. And the reason for that is I'm really trying to understand what is it that people really need, like I said,
Mm.
so that we can develop something that people can start getting some value out of and can start adopting.
Okay. Okay. That's amazing. So we data professionals are talking about this and thinking about this day and night nowadays. And before I jump into technicalities, do you mind to tell us that whether it's a one-off product or is an agentic AI product?
It is an agentic AI product.
Agentic AI
Yeah.
product. Okay. So what you have asked is $1 million question, and there are so many things. I can't talk about others, but I have been thinking this day in and day out. I am creating training for me as well, for not for me, for everyone on data, end-to-end data journey. Because when we talk about agentic AI, normally what we think is we are creating a business use case, which is true. And when we are creating a business use case, even in past, even in a traditional way, when I say traditional way, we create a data model, and normally we create anything or everything related to business use case, right?
Mhm.
But there is another piece, building a foundation, right? And last time we had this centralized approach where we had this big, fancy enterprise data warehouses, which we used to create in 1 to 2 years or sometimes 3 years, right? We had big in centralized teams. So I can go, end to end data management practice where you end up connecting with source manually. You end up discussing whether it's a batch, it's a real time, is a event based, what's the sizing of source system, what is the versions of the source system, what is the ETL tools involved into it, which is like event based Kafka thingy is there. A lot of PaaS tools are there, SaaS tools, not SaaS, IES tools are there. Then you drop into a warehouse. What you do, you cleans stuff up front, right? Like you standardize date columns, you remove null values. If data is coming as numbers, but its data type is varchar, better to make it digit or number. So there's n number of scenarios are there. You do basic standardization data quality checks, then you go towards transformation, right? When you go towards transformation, you do data modeling. Data modeling include like Bill and Mon, 3NF, RAF, Kimball, star schema. Then there's data vault.
Yep.
Then because this session is about that, so I'm just spending time on it. If you want me to stop, just stop me.
No, go ahead. Please
Yeah,
continue.
because we are
No, no problem.
recording it, it will go a input for you actually. That's what I feel.
Uh-huh.
Then you have data
Yes.
vault, that you have focal modeling, then you have anchor, then you have hook, then you have Papini brace. So there are so many data modeling techniques. Then you have denormalized modeling, which is aggregation, semantic. So there are so many things. Then you, even if you come towards data quality, there are many data quality stuff there. Then you come towards, and now I'm only talking about foundations. And then you have governance practices, you have metadata, you have, and business metadata, you have technical metadata, you have operational metadata. So many metadata types are there, right? In data modeling, the types which I mentioned you, those are physical data modeling. Then you have business data modeling, you have information data modeling, you have semantic. There are actually 33 types of data modeling. And these are all foundations of deliver a use case, right? Now, when we say foundations, 80% of these things were last time done by humans. You install something, you integrate something,
Yes.
you find out, hey, where is the master data? I missed the master data. Master data is also there. You have to find out the golden record, right? You have
Yes.
to segregate transactional data with the uh, what you call with the master data and with the reference data, because we have three kind of data only, right? So you all these has to done by manually. By when I say manually, means human use tools and technology, not really manual tools are involved. Now when agentic AI comes, right, we have entered into the era of federated approach. When we say federated approach, I can refer for the ease use of understanding is data mesh. That was the start of decentralized slash federated approach, right? Where we need to end up creating small data products. Even in data mesh, it doesn't say small data product. It says start creating data products based on the domains, subject areas, and domain should be the owner of that data product. Fair enough. Now suddenly agentic AI comes. In agentic AI, in the whole pipeline, there might be 10 small data products created, dropped, created, dropped, created, dropped, and you get a result. So there are use cases like that in digital twin concept as well. So now the question comes, what to automate and what not to automate, because you cannot automate everything. We have learned the hard way. That last time we were thinking generative AI or LLM slash RAG can solve everything. Cannot. The MIT and McKinsey reports are out there that 85% to
Mhm.
95% projects are failed. And they are also predicting by 2027, 40% projects will be failed. I feel why it will be 40%, why that percentage will come down from 95% to 40% is because people will start thinking you must listen to my podcast last night where we actually discussed that why organizations are failing, how they can get away from this trend of AI failure. That's the answer we have given over there. That with this experiences, now I think organizations should understand that whenever new tool comes, first of all, get a right person to evaluate the tool. Don't bring, yes, business use case is the king, but when new tool comes, don't focus on use case, focus on tool first. Get your team to go through the architecture of the tool, why this tool was made, what was the aim of this tool. Like LLM aim was not to solve everything. LLM aim is hallucination, creative thinking. So hallucination is the feature of LLM, is not a problem. People are thinking
Mm.
hallucination is a problem. It's not a problem, it's a feature of LLM, right? It can think creatively for you. Example, few weeks back, OpenAI launched a formal report that they will never fix 100% hallucination. Wow,
Yeah.
good luck.
I just wanted to comment on that real quick because I just responded to an email today talking exactly about that. It was one of the people that I am in touch with to work on this project, and they were talking about how they were concerned about using AI to export their diagram metadata to vendor specific SQL to deploy that somewhere, and how there were risks involved with that because it's not deterministic and it can make mistakes, it can hallucinate, right? And they were saying they were having concerns and suggesting that that should be deterministic, that should be via code done the old way. And I responded, hey, if we were to develop this with deterministic code, you're going to have a code path for every single vendor to
Yeah,
do every single use case that is slow to develop, slow to maintain, and very expensive,
yeah,
right? Which results in very expensive software that already exists in the market, by the way.
yeah,
With AI, it's never going to be 100% deterministic. But we don't want it to be because it's precisely the lack of determinism that
yeah.
helps it, that gives it so much flexibility.
True.
Because with AI, which is exactly what you were just saying, you're just different words, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get rid of the hallucinations. Like I just
No.
call it flexibility
Yeah.
because that's exactly what allows you to meet every single request you make with natural language. The moment you get rid of that, you get rid of its ability to cover all these different use cases, right? The whole point is the flexibility, right? Because now all I need to do is teach the AI about how to interpret the JSON schema, and it's debatable whether it should even be a JSON. There are other data structures out there that are turning out to be more reliable for AI. For example, tunes are one example. They're coming out right now. We're
Mm.
finding solutions to this problem, but that's a different story. As long as it understands your schema, it can generate that migration script for you to deploy to your database. It can generate a script to create everything. It can convert that to any language you want. If you want DBML, it can generate for you. If you want to convert it to any SQL specific, vendor specific language, like Oracle is going to be very different from SQL Server, right? Oracle is its own beast. If you're using Oracle, um, the SQL script is going to be very different. They're known not to follow the NC standard, right? Um, so it can generate all of that stuff for you. You can pass instructions. Say, hey, I want the script to be generated this way. Filter out these objects. put a prefix on the name of every table because I'm going to deploy it to separate schema, write these extra lines of grants for security purposes for me to the script. It can anything you need at any point in time can be quickly met without additional steps, right? So much so that they're coming with this new term called RAS, results as a service, as a model, as
Yeah.
opposed to software as a service. It's no longer software, it's results, right? You tell it what you need and it delivers it right away for you. The result, not the software to accomplish the thing. So yeah, I guess it's a change of mindset that we need to have. We need to stop expecting things to be deterministic and certain, and change our workflows really and the way we work.
Yeah. So the thing which you just mentioned is RAS, right? And once you have this RAS, the key point comes, how do you know the transparency? Because in agentic world, transparency, so just for our audience, like transparency is not security, is not privacy. Transparency means whatever I am doing, I will tell you as is. What is the hidden recipe under the hood? That is what transparency is. But can agentic AI give you? It will not be giving you 100%. Reason being, once you ask LLM one thing, you ask the same thing 10 times, it will give you 10 different
10
results.
different answers.
Yes. And under the hood, it is doing something. Now, something, yes, it is extractable from a different practices, but who can extract? Only that person who has walked the walk. When I say walk the walk means who has done all these technologies which I've told you. I haven't gone through all. I just know because I'm preparing a training, I'm meeting a lot of people like you. So I know not everyone can do everything. I think that is where human in the loop comes. That whenever
Yes.
agentic AI do something, someone who has done it to confirm that, right?
To, yes.
You check it,
An
right?
approval workflow.
Yeah, and that person cannot be, hey, if I approve it, hey, responsibility will come onto me. Hey, something goes wrong. Those person are only those person who haven't walked the walk, who is just being there. Maybe this will become controversial. Who is just being there to support the product, but who haven't created it. The person who has created it really knows what goes under the hood, right? So now maybe I've talked so much on this high level foundation. So that is where I was coming, that when we are building a product, like whenever you are building a product, do look into two angles. One is what you want to deliver and how your product can build foundation on the fly. Right? Foundation is super important because once you start creating a small data product for, I still do not know your product is to build automated ways of all those things which I've told you, or your product can deliver a use case as well. Maybe we can go into that direction now.
Well, DBAnvil is a data modeling tool for the new era of AI that's
Data
similar to the
modeling. Okay.
yes. Do you know like Irvin,
Yeah,
ER Studio,
I know.
DB that exactly. If there's an alpha available at app.dbanvil.com. It has a canvas like any other tool, and you create tables. It's the same thing, except for the fact that it's been built from the ground up as a vibe data modeler,
Ah,
right?
so we are talking about data modeling. Then I
Yes. Yes, and for physical data modeling, right? At least for now. And it's essentially an interface for AI and humans to collaborate on data modeling together. And it's a prototype right now. It's in alpha, just for demo purposes. We're still developing it, and which is why I am talking. I'm having these conversations, to understand the market, to understand what are people current pain points with data modeling and AI. And like you said, we already discussed something very important here: approval workflows for the outputs that AI is generating, right? So this is not something that we have. implemented so far, but this is something that constantly comes up in my conversations, right? Everybody's concerned about this. How do I know that whatever AI is generating for me, whether it is changes to my data model or generation of new data models or exporting it to any language, SQL, whatever it is, how do you know that the results are accurate and correct, right? Because sometimes I'm working with hundreds of tables, very complex user requirements. So, uh, an approval workflow is something that highlights, say, whenever you ask it to make a change to an existing data model, that it highlights the changes that AI is suggesting so you can approve or reject them or ask it to generate it again with new instructions, right? Um, that sounds like it is the way to go, but we're still refining those requirements. Um, and yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay, okay. Then as you have narrowed it down to data modeling tool, I can throw a few questions. Again, we are recording it. It'll really, I
Yeah.
hope it'll be helpful for you. So when you go into data modeling and you specifically mention this tool is for physical data modeling, right? When you say physical data modeling, it means the logical data model which you have created, you are going to deploy it into a target tool or database. And as you mentioned, target database can be a Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata. Everyone have yes, everyone use SQL, but not every SQL is 100% same. It's a different bit, 5-10% different for every tool. So are you telling me your product will have a logical model as a source and you create physical, or in your tool we can create logical letter model as well? Once you respond this, then we'll ask my next question.
It's just for physical data modeling. So you're really creating tables as opposed to business entities.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is that this tool is tailored towards small and medium businesses
Okay.
where pace of development is very important, right? Because the more you create, the more abstract you get, the
Hmm.
longer the process is, right?
Yeah.
Larger companies are the ones that tend to do a lot more, conceptual and logical data modeling first, and they adopt more of like a waterfall approach to software development a lot of times. Smaller companies, startups, they still need data modeling, but they need it quick, right? They need to talk, like you have a conversation with developers, software developers, in my experience, they want to talk about tables. Okay. They'll eat you alive if you tell them that what you're drawing on the board is are not tables, they're just entities. They're conceptual and they're going to be converted down the road into tables. No, they want to see what the tables in the database are going to look like right away,
Hmm.
right? So when so diagramming tools like diagrams are really a tool for collaboration and communication, right? And documentations for everybody to be on the same page, build consensus or reach consensus. Um, so in my so that's why DBAnvil right now is focused on physical data modeling, meaning you're creating tables. There are physical aspects to it, so we're talking real data types expressed fully. It's not a string, it's varchar with 120 characters, and there's this collation, and it's null or not null. Like all the full details are necessary to create a physical table are there. Indexing is there, all aspects of a physical database are represented there. And once you export that to and that's something that's a structure that is ready for deployment to a target database, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it is ready to be converted to SQL or SQL migration. If you ask AI to compare one diagram against another to see the differences, it can do that. And yes, it's ready to do that.
So it means you are saying that end of the day, logical model will be your input. Because when you create physical model, you need to know what tables you want to create, right? Yes, once I tell you, hey, I'm going to create 3NF, or I'm going to create star schema, or I'm going to create logical model, this is what my logical model look like in a format which your tool can accept. That's fair. The moment I give you that, then I think your tool should, or maybe will definitely have target database embedded into your tool. Like I say, this is,
It does.
it does.
It
Awesome.
does.
It has to, because once you are going to deploy in SQL Server or Oracle or Teradata or Postgre, everyone have their own syntax. So
Yes.
I think the thing which you are automating is more over that, hey, once this all manual data modeling is done, either by a tool or by a human, then you will make it quicker to go in deployment. I think that's where we are going, correct?
Yes. So the visual diagramming tool has a project parameter called the vendor.
Mm,
It supports right now MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, and Oracle. And changing that for a diagram sets the data types that you see because they're all different, sets the kind of indexes that you see, sets the default schema for any new tables that you create, right? Public for Postgres versus DBO for SQL Server, that kind of thing.
mm,
And a couple other changes like storage parameters, that kind of thing. That's vendor specific, right? It changes that in the UI. When you're exporting your diagram to say SQL or DBML or a migration written in for like Ruby on Rails, okay,
mm,
or whatever ORM you're using, you can ask AI to do that for you.
mm.
And while I don't recommend it, if you want to export your SQL Server diagram to Oracle, you can. You just ask AI to say to like, hey, I have a SQL Server diagram here, but I want you to write the SQL to create this in an Oracle target database, and it will do it for you. Um, so there are two different things. One is what is your target database, and that is completely diagram agnostic. It doesn't even have to be a relational database, to be honest with you. As
Yeah.
long as it has a schema, right? You can just ask AI to generate the script or specifications or DBML for it. And another thing is the visual UI and what it supports directly, what kind of data, what kind of parameters, storage parameters, that kind of thing. So the UI right now supports these four vendors. A lot more to come, including NoSQL databases, Snowflake, MongoDB. Uh, we're looking to support all that stuff.
Okay, awesome. Then I have one more question for you. Because we understood that your tool is there, logical model comes from here, you end up creating physical model here. But I think there is one more piece, data itself. Because once you create a physical model, which kind of partitioning you need to do, which kind of index you have to create is based on the data itself. Either data or either technical metadata of source, because you will only know that the table which I am going to go physical model, of course, again, it is always segregated into three pieces: master data, reference data, and transactional data, right? In transactional data, we have a different kind of partitioning and different kind of indexes, but master data has a different kind of indexes that you will only know once you start reading the data. Once you start reading data or a technical metadata of source tables, which has to be very enriched, that it tells you everything normally source don't have, but that also have to pour into your table before you decide, because creating a physical model is not creating a table only. It is creating the most optimized way to store your table as well, which is I'm referring to partitioning,
Mhm.
many other things. So are you working on that tool as well, that feature as well?
If the market asks for it, we'll do it, right? It's
Time
that's
for,
something that
right, note down. I'm telling you, you need that because
sure.
you can't have an index without knowing which kind of data coming in.
Well, to be fair, like you have your primary keys, your business keys are something that you should know from the logical model input, right? That you're using as an input, right? So that in some database vendors becomes a, for example, SQL Server, that becomes a clustered index. So you do have some indexing that you probably know, like the unique keys, the alternate keys that you have, those probably are something that you can already tell from
Logical
and
model.
the right, yeah, from the logical model or from the business requirements. If you want to skip the logical modeling altogether, which, like I said, most startups do, in my experience. uh Not that I'm not saying they should, but
That's the,
unfortunately,
I'm telling you, that's the reason there's failure of 95%.
yeah,
You cannot run away from data model, right?
yeah,
Even if you end up creating a very customized data model for your business, that is still a data model, and that has
yes,
to be repeatable. See, you can like hooks. I give you an example of hook in Papini is a very new data model. I'm not sure you have come across it. So this guy, Papini, is sitting somewhere, I think France or Spain. My apologies, Francisco, if I'm taking your country name wrongly. Then hook is by Adrian, Adrian from Australia, right? So these guys has creating a very new data modeling techniques, but still it has to be called. So they actually they these are my friends. They call it we don't like data modeling. I told them what you are doing, it's also a data modeling because data modeling doesn't
yes.
means you have to follow three and have a star schema. Data modeling means you model something which is repeatable, right? That is
Hmm.
modeling, right? So they
Hmm.
have come up with this modeling, right? So when you go into these modeling, so your tool need to understand what it is. Yes, you can pick up a lot of things from logical model, but logic again, partitioning, when partitioning concept comes in, you won't know in logical model what partitioning you have to do, right? And
Yes.
yes, so many indexes. So these are just my, I'm just throwing ideas out there just on top of my head.
Yeah, partitioning, table partitioning, is something that the tool, like, it's on our roadmap to support, but like I said, until we get some early adopters
Yeah.
telling us, yeah, I need partitioning in order to pick this up. Like, I had partitioning in ER Studio, and I need that because all of my databases use table partitioning, right? Then we're gonna do it, right? Whatever it takes to drive
Hmm.
uh, adoption, uh, if that's something that they can do without. But on the other hand, in my experience, small companies rarely know what partitioning even is, in my opinion. Like, they're very, like, yeah, smaller companies, like, if their database is not performing well, they'll just add more resources and hope for the best, you know?
Yeah. So
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, and another aspect to it is that vertical, like, for horizontal partitioning, which is really creating separate tables with a one-to-one relationship between them. Um, in order to split like a really large table with 400 columns, like, you create like one table, each table has 50 columns. That's horizontal partition as opposed to vertical, right? Uh, that's something that's already supported because you just split your tables, right, into multiple. So yeah, so that's one form of partition that it's inherently supported already. But vertical partitioning, yeah, that's something we probably will have to add at some point. Uh, the inputs, it can be a logical model. If you can express that in text, you can paste it there to the AI assistant and it will generate the diagram out of that. Uh, but for small companies, I find that usually what they have is a set of user requirements, right? And so, what do you think about that, right? The support for input, not as a for the input, not just to be for the input to not necessarily be a logical data model, but a set of user requirements expressed in natural language.
no, no, I can give you an input on this one. As I mentioned that I'm preparing a training. Well, it has gone to my lower priority, but I started like few months back on data. So I'm creating a data training end-to-end journey for someone, because if you go and learn data trainings from open market, it's very expensive, first of all, and they're very high level. They're for people who knows data, right?
Hmm.
Even if you go Dama and other things, it's very technical and very high level, right? You don't have a training which tell you what is data, what is an entity, right? What is the difference between entity and entity type and attributes and instance? Nobody tells you that. So I'm not going to go in detail for that. So when I was creating that training, I've already done with my first version where I end up. So one piece is data modeling, and as I mentioned, that data modeling. Actually, when I started researching, I came to know there are 33 data modeling techniques. Even I didn't knew that because you can't do everything everywhere,
Yeah, there are
right?
many. There are
There are
many.
many. So
Yeah.
when I created that deck, then I started doing stuff as well, that how I can use chat GPT to generate outputs, right? So that input I can give you that for few of the data modeling, like information data modeling, right? Business data modeling. What I did is I created a one paragraph. I converted a prompt in such a way with the help of course, ChatGPT, that, hey, I will give you a requirement into a verbal format, like I'm talking to my customer will just tell me the story. So now maybe I can share that prompt with you. You can give a customer story. It is for loan approval system. Okay. So you give one paragraph, you give it, it will create a business model for you. Automatically it will do. So my
Oh,
next,
there you go.
yeah, so my next step were that I will create all these agents which will have these prompts here and there. So once you give a paragraph, it will end up creating business model, information model. Then human loop in comes. Hey, I want to create 3NF. It will create a 3NF. I will give a JSON format or whatever format is. Give it the 3NF data modeling techniques, which is sitting somewhere in document. Give it as an input. It'll create a 3NF logical model, and then it'll create a physical. So yes, it is doable. But again, when user is talking, you have to convert maybe at a backend. You have to convert into the selected data modeling, bare minimum business or information data modeling, bare minimum conceptual data modeling, bare minimum logical. These things you need to have, because yes, you are right. You can skip everything. You can create a physical data model, but the moment audit will come at you or compliance will come at you for a transparency and data lineage, then I'm telling you, your tool will have a challenges to defend.
Yes. Well, yes. Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have just given me a clue there about what it is that the market really needs because, yeah, we don't currently have it on the roadmap to support logical and conceptual data modeling. But that is under an assumption, and as with all assumptions, they
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
sometimes be correct, sometimes not, right? That startups do not see a value and they need things very quickly. They don't see much value in these abstract steps. They want action. They want something that they can put it in their database and start developing code for it right away, right? Um, yeah, there are a lot of companies that I've worked for where any kind of conceptual modeling would have been a very hard sell. Whether it should be or not, completely different story.
Yeah, see,
Completely
need,
different.
yeah, need and want two different things. Yes,
Yeah.
you don't want. Yes, you want to cut down it. But do you need it? Yes, you need it. Either it is generated by an agent or any chat I call it chat I because there's a chat GPT or there's Gemini and many other chats, right? So I call it chat I. So if even any chat I has created it, but you need a transparency, you need a log somewhere. Because once you ask one thing and second time you ask the same thing and it gives you a different result, you should be able to go and back and see why it changes it. And as I mentioned, what is happening under the hood? So there has to be something happening under the hood, right? First thing is whether you understand or not, that's a separate thing. But there has to be happening something under, because when you talk, how it convert into physical table? It will never.
Yes.
It has to go through the journey.
Yes.
And I think that is what chat GPTs, if you use it, that is what they do as well. Because you say, hey, give me a customer data model where customer is an banking customer and is an loan customer. What will do backend? Backend, it will go and create an information data model. Based on the information data model, it'll find out the entities, which is customer and bank, and maybe bank some product, loan. It creates those entities. Based on the entity, as I mentioned, banking, it'll go and create the ontologies and taxonomies. And based on that, it'll create the conception model. And based on the conception model, then it'll ask you sample data. You have to give the sample data so it can find out it need to convert break many to many relationships. It need to break down into that fan trap and the other trap. It need to get out that trap, and then it'll create the logical model, and then it'll create a physical model. So it is doing at back end. It's not like that it is not doing. It is 110% doing it. The people
Hmm.
who has walked the walk, like I could tell you visually what it is doing. But people who hasn't done it, new folks, they think we can tell, hey, we are telling chat GPT it's creating a physical model for us. Why the hell we need to create logical and conceptual information?
Yeah.
It is doing, they do not know.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting take. Yeah, but then again, I would argue that that's yet another argument not to do the conceptual modeling anymore because it's all automated. I'm not saying it should work like that, but it's definitely will. I imagine it will serve as an argument.
I
Another argument.
absolutely agree that you should not be doing it. Agent should be doing it. We can't say that it we don't need it. It is there. Now the question comes when audit comes and compliance comes, it should be recording. Yes, it should be invisible to you. You should not be spending time it. Agent should be doing it, but agent should be recording it somewhere,
Hmm.
right? It records somewhere so you can refer. So yes, you skip it for a human eye, but for audit and compliance, see, that's what I'm telling that this all this AI regulatories are coming. What are their clauses? These are their clauses actually.
Hmm.
Transparency. Why blockchain never become so popular, right? Because right now I'm researching on blockchain as well. Blockchain is super good, but blockchain is for certain use cases. Again, the whole failure is whenever new technology comes that we think it will replace the human. Actually, that's what we call it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like that. You cannot end up replacing it. Even
Hmm.
if you want to replace a human, see, okay, let me give you another example of LLM. People think LLM cannot make mistake, right? People don't understand that LLM transformer model behind is based on neural network concept, our brain concept, where you have nodes and links, right?
Yes.
Even as a human, we make mistake.
Well, of course, yeah,
If you are
yeah.
a banking domain and I'm a telco domain, and if we are talking about a customer, both of our understanding will be different.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even,
And people,
yeah,
yeah, and to add to that, people when people are saying that they have a concern switching to AI from deterministic logic, deterministic code, the deterministic code was written by humans and can
yeah,
make mistakes, just can have
yeah,
bugs, right? It can
yeah.
have, yeah, exactly.
So if your
So
brain can make mistakes based on the knowledge you have, how LLM will not make mistake? I won't say make
exactly.
mistake. I would say hallucination. So use LLM for ideas to draft your model, the first draft of your thing, which normally takes a lot of time. If that draft is ready, start working on it, start refining it. I think that is where, if possible, your product can go into it. Yeah, creating a physical model is super important. I think, as you mentioned, maybe an input of data or profiling of source table data is also. I give you one more example. If you pull data from Teradata or some certain databases, it will generate special characters. So source table content cannot directly go target table because source have different essence of data. That is the whole reason in data warehousing and data lake practice, the landing zone came into being. Landing zone is very flat. So if any special character comes,
Mhm.
you can handle there. Because if you connect directly source RDBMS to the target RDBMS, 99% fails because both are
Yeah.
different beasts. I'm
You're
just
you're talking about data migration from one to the other, or metadata
data. When I said
data.
data migration, see, migration is one to one. But
Mhm.
even if you do data warehousing and you end up
Yes.
into RDBMS, still
Yeah.
special characters.
Yes.
Teradata
Yes.
supports 4 digits after decimal. Huawei Gauss DB support 15. Oracle supports something else. SQL supports
Yes.
something else. So when you are pulling data from source and going and creating your physical data model, your physical data model from Teradata, and let's say for Gauss DB of Huawei, it converts data from 4 digit precisions to 15. And when you
Yeah.
do a sum of a value, this will be much accurate as compared to this. And you will, so this is a physical model. So you also need to understand where, when you create a physical model, where your source model is, source data is coming, which database.
Yes.
That can be one input for your product as well to create a physical data model. My apologies, I can talk day and night on data. I love data.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that connecting directly to the databases and looking at the data itself, like it's not a product that's directly right now designed to support data migrations. It can migrate your schema. Like if you have, say, you're migrating from Oracle to Postgres, which a lot of companies are doing right now. Um, you can import your schema from Oracle and not your data, just your schema
But I'm
metadata,
talking
and
about
then you,
schema. No, bro, I'm talking about schema because the moment
right?
you create a schema into, let's say, Gauss DB from Teradata, your schema is different, is based on this, not flat.
Well, yeah, the data types,
Yes.
sure, there
Yes.
won't be, well, yeah, because you're converting like the technologies or the apples to oranges as well, right? Teradata is like a data warehouse, it's like a data lake kind of thing, and it's graph based, and then Oracle
Can
database
be
is
RDBMS
structured.
as well. Na? It can be RDBMS.
Yeah,
So Lake is much safer because Lake is flat file and Parquet files. But the moment your source, because I'm sure your data model also
yeah,
support everything. La. It cannot be Lake
yes.
data model. Yeah, everything, right?
Well, it will eventually support graph databases which store, say, JSONs,
Okay.
right? And they those have nested structures that
Yeah.
are different to represent like visually in a diagram.
Yeah.
So like the tables in the diagram and the relationships are visually going to look different once we're gonna have to have like a different document type in the DBAnvil to support those use cases when we start switching like how the data is structured. It's a different story,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah, but like the way it could help you with. So you're talking about the schema per se. So yeah, I understand it now. Um, but you said something earlier about needing to know how the data is going to look like in order to decide certain physical aspects of your schema. One of the things, though, I imagine that as people adopt vibe modelers like DBAnvil, they're going to import their existing schemas. They already have been using a product, or they have been using none, but they still had live databases. So um, they're going to be importing their live schemas, right?
Mm.
Um, that is something that DBAnvil will support soon. It will have like a desktop version of what's on the cloud right now, and it will connect directly to your database and import that
That's a
live
good
schema.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
idea. See, again, your tool can also have a segregation because once you create a physical model before table, you have to decide your target will be RDBMS, SQL or no SQL. So there are SQL, which is we all know RDBMS. NoSQL, we know graph, document, key value, and columnar 4 are there. Then there is a data lake as well. And I'm sure your physical model doesn't care. In future, of course, right now you have 4. In future, I can ask you, hey, can I use your tool to create a physical model into Databricks, into Snowflake, into
Yes.
there are 3 data table types. There is Hudo, there is Delta, and there is Iceberg. So there are 3 table formats on data lake.
Hmm.
So you can create, I'm sure your tool will be able to support that as well. And
Yes.
that has a different physical data modeling syntax, right? So
Yes.
you have to segregate
Yes.
that as well.
And we're no, yeah, but we're hoping AI will take care of that. Like if you ask it, yeah, exactly. We will delegate that to AI because, like I said, it would be very expensive to support all the code to export to every
No, no, AI,
vendor, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. AI will do. But the moment AI will bring the human in loop, because you will have a
Yes.
human in loop. Human in loop
Yes.
means which type of humans you want there to support. Then you have to tell that, hey, AI, one agent you handle RDBMS physical model, one agent you handle NoSQL,
Yes.
one agent you
Yes.
handle data lake, and within that agent
Yes.
type NoSQL, hey, NoSQL agent, second agent point, another agent handle graph, another handle document. So you have
The
a
orchestration.
yeah,
Yes, you have a tree of, yeah,
yes,
because you want to
yes,
minimize the amount of instructions that you're passing
yes,
to each
yes,
agent, right? So you have agents at the top. They're responsible for
yes,
routing your
yeah, yeah,
request. And
yeah,
that's how it's already set up. I imagine everybody who's setting up an agentic AI will or is
yeah, yeah.
doing exactly that.
Awesome, awesome. Again, you have to stop me because I can talk day and night. So I think we have a hard stop as well. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, 4 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're out of time. Well, sounds good. Like, yeah, I really appreciate the chat. Yeah, very, very interesting.
It's
Awesome.
pleasure again. Always involve me. I'm always happy to discuss these things. And by the way,
Hmm.
I'm looking for these tools.
Yeah,
I
so
have so many tools in the market which I am aware, which is competing with big giants, right?
hmm
So
so
your
so
tool.
so yeah, so I wanted to ask you, would you like to be a part of the development of this tool? Like I'm looking for people that can give me feedback on what is it that they like to see in terms of features that would be useful to them. So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You can and like I said, it's a tool that I'm developing for you, for people in this industry. I need it to be useful to everybody. So, uh, yeah, let's chat and think about what would be useful. Anything you can tell me about that, about the problems you're having with current tools and processes. I would be very interested to hear, and I would love to put that into DBAnvil to make it cover those use. Would
Awesome.
love that.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Have a nice
Thank you.
rest of the day. I think it's a weekend for you. Enjoy your
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah, yeah. You too. Thank you for the chat.
Take care.
Lovely.
Bye.
Take care.